All right, thank you everyone for joining today. My name is Fahad Ismail. I'm with WCI Consulting. Today we're going to show you BusinessObjects OnDemand Integration with Salesforce.com. So we're going to have a couple of slides that I'm going to go through, and then we're really going to get right into the demonstration. I know we only have a half an hour, and we've got a lot of things to cover. So real quickly, we'll get into the agenda, which is, we'll introduce WCI Consulting. I'll give you a little bit of background about myself as well, the organization. We'll highlight the traditional Salesforce.com challenge from a reporting perspective, and this is just what we've heard from most of our customers. And then we'll get right into the solution demonstration itself. So WCI Consulting, we're business intelligence and data warehouse focused. We've been doing this for about 12 years now. We're headquartered in Dallas. That's where the majority of our consultants are. And we've got a geographic reach across the nation and actually in the UK and South America as well. So one of the keys to our organization is that we hire all of our own consultants. We train them ourselves so that we actually retain the knowledge and we maintain a center of excellence that our customers get to leverage. We personally use Salesforce.com, and we've implemented this business intelligence solution for multiple Salesforce.com and non-Salesforce.com customers. So what is the challenge that we've seen with most of our Salesforce.com customers? These are typical things that we've heard from every customer, which is multiple object reporting is always an issue, end user maverick reporting, one-off non-reusable reports, or the fire drill, which is I need this report and I need it now. And then what we typically see is that Salesforce.com isn't, it's rarely the single source of record. And even if you could get access to all of the data that you needed for those multiple object reports, the data terminologies, it lacks common terminology or common consistent terminology that users can actually access. And the reports are non-integrated, and they're not really embedded within the environment in a way that the users can access them conveniently. Report scheduling is always an issue. Typically, Salesforce reports are run on the fly, and they're run as needed. And you can't really find a historical schedule of a report of something like a commission report if you needed that delivered on a regular basis. Then there's a minimal end user flexibility in regards to what can and can't be pulled. So when we talk about the multiple object and maverick and fire drill type reports, this is the typical environment we see. We have a large group of users. In most Salesforce.com environments, it's a very, very small group of admins, usually one or two. The users are, after a while of using Salesforce.com, typically between 6 months and beyond, the users start to get savvy in regards to the data requirements they have, and the typical account and contact report or the pipeline report or opportunity report just will not do anymore, and the users require a lot more information. What happens in this case is users start overwhelming the Salesforce.com admins in regards to reports they want, and the only way to really get that information for most admins is to create multiple reports in Salesforce, bring them down into either an Excel file or massaging the data into a Access database of some sort, and creating some sort of pivot or Excel data or Excel report, which they then send back to the users. Where this creates that maverick issue is that now those users have these reports but have no one to share them with, so they're actually keeping these reports on in their own inboxes, somewhere in their own file structure, but in no way is that content reused or shared with anyone within the organization. So you now have a very large list of reports inside of Salesforce that are actually just template reports that are being used to mash up and create new content for end users. And then you also have these different silos or pockets of information within the organization. So this is typically bad enough as it is. However, in most cases, as we all know, the environment's actually quite a bit more drastic. Most organizations have Salesforce.com and a financial system, an HR system, marketing automation tools, email automation tools. And now users want even more. right? So they want their Salesforce pipeline compared to their actual closed business from a financial system. Or if they're a software as a service company, they want that same pipeline compared to reoccurring revenue streams. And now these same admins are forced to work with other admins for other systems to try and gain access to these disparate data sources, bring them together, and again, now you have this maverick reporting and siloed reporting structure, and it's just multiplied. It's even worse now. It's even harder to maintain, right? So what we've seen from our customers is something along the following diagram. From a requirements perspective in regards to what they needed and how we were able to actually help them move forward, is one of these three boxes will typically cover most organizations' business intelligence requirements. All of the issues typically fall in here in one of the three places. So there's this data integration or preparedness stage, which requires that we bring that data together in a common form, either in a single source or multiple sources if needed. It's not, it doesn't have to be a single source, but it's typically the best route to getting to the next level. Once we bring that data together, we prepare it. Now there's that stage of this KPI layer or this common terminology. And what we're doing here is we're taking normal data terminology that makes sense to database analysts or developers, and we give it business terminology, things like sales or net sales or gross sales or profit. We then expose that environment to the end user so that they can actually create the content they require in a variety of formats. And what we'll do is when we get into the demonstration, I'll explain this KPI layer in a bit more detail, and we'll get into what the end user environment actually looks like. So we're going to go ahead and just escape this presentation right now and actually get right into the demonstration itself. What I'm going to do is just log into Salesforce.com. And hopefully I've entered the right password. I've got quite a few of them. Did not. So one of the key features to the Business Intelligence On-Demand solution from SAP is that you're actually enhancing the Salesforce.com environment. And we'll see that here real quickly. Right off the bat, this dashboard that we're seeing is actually it's being called from the Business Intelligence On-Demand solution. And this dashboard is developed in a tool called Crystal Excelsior, and this actually is a what-if analysis tool. So we can see that this is actually an interactive dashboard. This can be anything. It doesn't have to be modeled this way. For most sales reps, this is likely a commission or pipeline report, right? So that they could see, for instance, if I close one more deal, my commission check's going to increase through the roof, or whatever the different factors are to drive the business. A lot of organizations we've worked with wanted a high-level dashboard at the very top of the organization from a sales perspective, and they wanted everyone down the hierarchy to be responsible to that dashboard. So it was a scaled-down version in each layer down the organization, so everybody knew that their goals were actually helping the company achieve corporate initiatives. So again, there's multiple ways we can do this. We can embed it right inside a page. It can actually be a tab within Salesforce, and we'll see that here in the manager scorecard. A lot of the times, you don't really want to navigate away from the solution itself. This has been selected as the portal of choice for most organizations, is that Salesforce is going to be that portal. So rather than having to navigate into a separate environment, you now have all of your content within one environment. You can see on this dashboard, I can select different sales users and get a gauge on where they are in regards to quota attainment and performance. We can actually compare them against each other. But above and beyond that, and this is the beauty of the Excelsior solution, is the what-if analysis. We can actually start modifying the actual characteristics of the rep. So if I know that a sales rep's characteristics and the different variables that actually allow them to get to their quota, then I can actually make some simulations and projections. So I know that if a rep is only prospecting 4 or 5 calls a week, I can actually start bumping that number up, and we can see some different changes to their prospective close amounts. If I know that there's an opportunity for large cross-sell within the organization because we've acquired a new product or something of that nature, we can say that the average transaction amount is actually going to increase. And we can actually start motivating the reps to do some different things and behaving in some different ways. So that's just a couple examples of some of the dashboards. I'm going to go in and show you some further integration, and this is one we've heard from almost every customer we've talked to, is most customers want to see, or they want their sales reps to see, any type of interaction that a customer or prospective customer has had with the organization. And a lot of times we see that different organizations have inside sales organizations, outside sales, lead development or business development organizations, and they're all interacting with an account in some very different ways. And as an account executive or a global account owner, sorry, for some reason I've been asked for credentials here, but I'm just going to back off that one for a second. What most organizations want to know is everything that's happened to this account from anybody in the business, if it's a product specialist or anyone from within the organization. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. And what happens is the Business Intelligence On-Demand solution actually knows who the user is and where they are within the solution. So me as an account rep coming into this account, it's telling me that, okay, as a user, you're allowed to see everything there is to know about United Oil and Gas. Maybe as a business development rep, I can only see certain lead objects or certain objects of that nature, but I can't see all the closed business or all of the field reps' activity. So it's actually only returning to me information about United Oil and Gas rather than returning information about an account that may not be mine. And then as an account rep at this point, I can go ahead and modify this if I need to. I'm going to go ahead and just close that off and go into the actual BI On Demand Solution tab. And this is where all of the content can be stored. So in this portion, we have a business intelligence file structure or platform. And this allows any user to go in, and they will have essentially 3 sections that they can access here along the left-hand side, which is my stuff shared with me in the organization. In the My Stuff area, this is really a personal folder for a user to retain all of their content that they may have created or content that somebody has shared with them that they wanted to bring down as a kind of a favorites list of some sort. The shared with me is for instance, if I've developed a piece of content that I think is extremely valuable to my counterparts by region or a different product specialist of some sort, I can go ahead and share that content with them, and that's an area they can access it. What we typically see in the My Organization folders is content that's created by administrators. So this is the regular run rate operational reports that are typically developed and are sent out to the users for them to have access to. So I'm going to quickly just go in and actually create some content and show you how easy that is. So there's a couple of ways to do this. The first method, I want to just describe the adding of a data set and show you the difference between what standard database data looks like or Salesforce.com data looks like, and compare that to the translation layer that we talked about, that semantic layer that makes it easy for business users to actually create content. So when we go in here, I'm going to just go ahead and import from Salesforce, and what this is going to do is just expose all of the Salesforce.com objects. So we said the first problem was having the ability to access all of the objects in the first place, right, that multiple object reporting. So this should expose all of the objects in Salesforce. And what we'll really see is that as an end user, this alone will not help me. There is an arsenal of objects in here and sub-objects, and understanding the relationships between them can be quite cumbersome and a process in itself. So I'm actually not that technically savvy about the Salesforce objects themselves. I'm actually going to leave this and create a report through what we call a universe or a semantic layer. So I'm just going to go ahead and create from a query. And now we'll see some differences. So when I go to an STS sales universe here, we'll see that the data is organized in a more logical manner that makes more sense to the average business user. All of the data that I didn't need is now removed. I've actually somehow selected the wrong universe there. One moment. Okay, so here we go. And this is going to actually refine that data structure that we just saw into something that actually makes sense to me. So for me to now start creating some content, it's pretty simple. I can actually just go in and select your quarter and select which product, if I wanted to see a product, by product type of sales report. And I can start selecting region, customer name if I wanted. We can do customer name, customer ID, and then some sales figures. So probably select gross sales and net sales. And I'm going to want to filter in here. I'm just going to create this so that it actually prompts the end user to create the filter. So we can see our query there. When I hit next, I should receive a prompt, which I do, and I only want 3 years of data. So I'll go ahead and bring those 3 years over. And the system is actually going to go ahead and just go and draw this data from this common terminology layer for me so that I can actually access it and get some answers out of the information that we have. So we can see the data here, and I know we're running short on time, so I'm going to be pretty quick on this, but I'm going to go ahead and just explore this data now. And when we talk about exploring, this isn't necessarily report development. This is more of answering questions. So as a business user, I have a question. I want to know which of my products is selling the most and with which customers. I just quickly want to do that. I can go ahead and just hit explore, and I should be able to get to this answer fairly quickly. So right now it automatically went to customer ID, and it summed that, which I didn't want. But I really want to see gross sales and net sales compared. And I probably want to actually see this by customer. So I'm going to go to customer name. And I want to see my top 10 net. And obviously with a lot of data structures, sometimes there's data that's invalid, right? So we looked there, and there was some other data. So those are essentially erroneous data elements that have no names attached to the actual account. So what we can see here is I quickly got to the answer. I know right off the bat that, you know, there's my top customers, there's my top 10. I know where to focus my time and effort, right? So I'm going to just quickly go into a different type of reporting environment now, which is more of an ad hoc analysis where we can create content, but it's more of creating a report. We're not necessarily creating or just getting to an answer. We want to create a report and share that report with some of the users. So in this case, I'm going to actually use a Salesforce.com universe, which again is a more common universe. It's a universe that's been created for users rather than DBAs or developers. One of the biggest things we said was, you know, multiple object reports. So I'm going to go ahead and create one right now on the fly. So we've got accounts here. I'm going to go ahead and get some contact information. We can do this typically in Salesforce already. We're going to go ahead and get some opportunity information here as well. I'm going to use stage name name instead. We want some amounts. I think we'll need a time period of some sort here, so let's use fiscal year if I can find it here. There it is. And I'm actually going to create fiscal year as a prompt as well. We're going to go ahead and run that query. Again, I'll just use the 3 years here. And we should get some data back. So now that I have this data, what can I do with it? There's all kinds of things I can do. Off the top, there's a lot of information here I probably don't need, so I can remove some of this info. For instance, I might want to just see the net of, what were my sales for by account within a region, or just by account for that matter. I can go ahead and remove some of these sections because I don't think I'm going to need them. I don't necessarily need the actual stage name at this point, so I'll just go ahead and get rid of that. We're going to create some breaks on the actual fiscal year itself. I can go ahead and set that as a section. So now I can see, how all of my accounts have done over the years compared to each other. So if I have a certain trend in here, I can start to see that. If I wanted to go ahead and make this more of a chart, I can just simply copy it, paste it right next to the data I had, and I can go ahead and change this to whatever my heart desires. So in this case, I'm just going to create a vertical group bar chart here. And there we go. So pretty quick in regards to actually being able to create the content that we want, and any content. We're not limited by the number of objects or the actual parameters that are allowed in Salesforce. And again, we can embed this content anywhere in Salesforce, either in a tab or within a Salesforce page as an object. So those are a couple of the ways we can do this. One of the newest features that Business Intelligence On Demand has released this year, and just one of their latest releases, is actually a different element, which I think a lot of Salesforce.com users will find extremely valuable, which is the ability to import from a Salesforce report. So again, we talked about the process of creating multiple objects reports traditionally by bringing them down into Salesforce.com, or into an Excel document or an Access database. In the new world that Business Intelligence On Demand's created, you can actually use your reports as data sources. So you can go ahead and select a different report or a couple of different reports, combine them with the Explorer tool, and create your content that way. So you don't actually have to leave this environment and bring this data down. So I think that was a lot of content there in a short time frame. I'm going to go ahead and just pause. I think there's a couple of questions here.
Yeah, everyone, if you have a question, just go ahead and use that question box on the right side panel. If I had the first question here is, can you report live from Salesforce?
Yeah, it's a great question. So one of the very unique differentiators between SAP BusinessObjects On Demand and what I've seen and what we've seen from a lot of customers and a lot of other vendors is that this solution can do both. So it can allow you to do the ad hoc reporting that's required in the cloud that we've seen today. It can also allow you to very quickly create content against Salesforce.com directly. So there is an element of this solution when we talk about this translation layer and really creating a layer that's usable by end users that does need to be created. So we do need to create a data model that allows you to use this content. But then there's also very operational reports that we've seen from a lot of customers that say, this report has to be absolutely live. I have to be able to just click refresh compression, it goes and gets data from Salesforce. The solution can do that in multiple ways. I saw a question there in regards to, will everyone get a copy of the demonstration? Yes, I believe this is being recorded, so it should be sent out to everyone after.
Yeah, and Fahad, we're running right up to 30 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and end the session now.
Okay.
If you want to throw up your contact information, just so people can see it. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to contact us. Our next webinar is going to be June 7th. It'll be on our website, wciconsulting.com. And thank you for joining, everyone.